have you ever considered the differences in the things that motivate you in life? Going through life, we're inevitably going to be motivated by different things. We will do things because we love them. We will do things because we want the reward that comes with them, or we want to be viewed by people in a different way or a certain way. I was in a class a couple years ago, and we began to talk about two different forms of motivation, and it got me thinking about how important and vital these things are in our life. It made me wonder the impact that they have and just how important they really are. Today, I'm going to be talking about the two forms of motivation that there are that influence and dictate how we do things in life. These two forms of motivation are intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. First, we're going to start off by talking about intrinsic motivation. Intrinsic motivation is doing something because we are inherently interested in the task. Right? So we love what we do. We love doing it. We do it for enjoyment. It's not something that we hate doing or we're just doing to avoid a punishment or something that could come our way. In a study done by Al-Dahamet and Krishan, they found that with intrinsic motivation, it was highly correlated with success, right? So we see in life, and we can even see in ourselves, that when we're very successful at something, most of the time, it's because we love doing it. And so we invest tons and tons and tons of time into it because it's not a burden to us, it's not a chore, it's not something that we hate doing. And because of that, it allows for us to expand and to increase our knowledge and even our capabilities in what we do. Some of the advantages that come with intrinsic motivation are, that the task is going to be enjoyable. It's not going to be something that we hate doing. It's something that becomes the reward for us. It's not something that, the reward is given to us afterwards. The reward is that task that we're doing. Another thing is that it allows for that learning to become meaningful and impactful in our life because we're willing to invest so much time into it. And we're willing to pursue things on our own. No one has to tell us to go learn more about it or to do this. We go and seek out advice and learning for that specific topic on our own, and it is our choice. We're going to look at the life of two people, Jack and Jane. We're first going to talk about Jack. Jack embodies what we'd see in someone who is intrinsically motivated by something. Jack is an all-American track athlete. He has gone to the Olympics, won the gold medal. He has ran in college and won national championships, and now he professionally runs and still goes and wins many races still. Jack is intrinsically motivated, and he finds success in that. No one has to tell Jack to go run. Jack does it on his own, and he's loved doing it his entire life. He has always enjoyed it and has never felt for it to be a burden. It is something that he truly loves, and that's what drives him and pushes him. So every practice, every Olympics, every college track race, every professional race that he does, he is loved doing it. He does not care if he wins. He just loves the fact that he has the opportunity to compete and to do the very thing that he loves. Now that we talked about intrinsic motivation, let's go into extrinsic motivation. What is extrinsic motivation? Extrinsic motivation is participating in an activity to receive a reward or avoid a punishment. It has everything to do with the things around us. Intrinsic motivation is all internal. Extrinsic motivation is the world around us and what motivates us, right? So, right, we want that reward, or we want to avoid mom or dad telling us to do an extra chore. We don't like that. Some of the advantages that come with this extrinsic motivation are it is helpful to receive things extrinsically, as like a reward or a punishment, because it helps us to gauge and to understand where we are with our understanding, with our knowledge of what it is that we're doing, or how well we're doing at that task. A good example of this is grades. Grades are definitely an extrinsic motivation, and they really do help us gauge, like, okay, I'm understanding the material for my class very well, or I'm not doing so well. But it's very much so an extrinsic motivation. Learning and doing things in life are very much so going to be done in social environments, and extrinsic motivation kind of helps us to focus in on that social aspect, because inevitably we have to turn to someone or something to receive guidance on how we're doing. We can't just internally guess how we're doing to some form. To some extent, we are going to have to look to outside sources to know how it is that we're doing with whatever it is we're doing. So let's go back to our example. So we've talked about Jack. Now let's talk about Jane. So Jane is also a track and field athlete. And Jane does this for many reasons, but the biggest reason is she wants to come out on top. She wants to be the best runner possible. And she wants to be standing on the podium number one. Jane is extrinsically motivated, and she too, just like Jack, has been to the Olympics. She hasn't won a gold medal. She's placed, and she's ran in college and now runs professionally, but she isn't extremely successful. She's been able to look, engage, and understand that she's not doing what exactly it is that she wants to do, but her motivation is she wants to do the sport for the reward. And even growing up, if we look at Jane, right, her parents wanted to see her win. Her parents weren't particularly happy every time she didn't win. And so her motivation comes from, one, wanting to be number one, and two, wanting to seek a form of punishment, and she doesn't want her parents to be unhappy. Now that we've compared and contrasted intrinsic and extrinsic motivation, it's important to keep in mind that these two things really do influence and dictate our life. One may be better than the other, but ultimately they're both things that drive us and influence us in our daily lives and are important. Intrinsic motivation is that inherent love to do the task at hand. Extrinsic motivation is we want to avoid the task, and we want to avoid the punishment or get the reward that comes with doing the task. As you move forward in life, I encourage you to take the time to think about and focus on what motivates you and how it motivates you. As you do so, I promise that you'll find a greater effort and desire and willingness and ability to increase and love the things that you do.